Welcome to the Always Ask videocast. I'm your host, Amanda Busby, the lifestyle expert. For over a decade, I have been working with people to develop their style, organize the chaos, and create impactful experiences that help them live a more intentional and impactful life. With each episode, I am on a mission to bring you the most influential minds, people that have inspired and impacted my life on my own self-discovery journey around the globe. Together, we will shake up everything you thought you knew and help you to engage in life in a completely different way. Always ask, connecting people, creating experience, curating events. Enjoy the show. So hi, everybody. Welcome to Always Ask. I am your host, Amanda Busby, and I'm so excited about our guest today. We're here with Jeanne Crescenzo, and I am so happy to share her with you. She is just one of the most beautiful people and just so deep, so much magic comes with her everywhere she goes. So welcome. It's so good to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Good. I'm excited. And I first met Jeanne a while ago. How long has it been? Maybe 5, 6,
about 7
that years?
I don't know, maybe 5 or 6.
Okay. Somewhere in there. And Jeanne is this beautiful, intuitive guide and healer. She does a lot of work with energy and restoring people's energy, helping them move through things that they're stuck with in their life. She has these gorgeous psychic healing gifts. She's very, very intuitive and perceptive. And she's also a really gifted spiritual artist. She creates these beautiful, beautiful pieces with such a magical and deep quality to them. And I first met her through a mutual friend, and I was going through a massive shift in my life, basically changing everything that I was and that I had built into this completely different framework. And I was really, searching and going through a lot of deep internal kind of growth and unbecoming, and really just looking for the truth, and on my own spiritual journey. And so I was introduced to Jeanne, and it was interesting because I will say now we can laugh about it. Knowing you this long, we're great friends. But the friend that introduced us said, you're going through all this transition. Jeanne will just help you see it really clearly. And she's so gentle, and she's so wise, and she has this intuitive psychic ability. And I will admit, I heard the word psychic and I was like, no, definitely not happening. Like, I am not going to a psychic. I had this whole, I think, belief system around what that was, and being raised, in a very religious background and having a strong belief in God. I thought, psychics are not, they're like over here, right? Like God and spirituality is here, and psychic is like, we don't go that direction. And so it was interesting because the more she talked about you and what you did and how you had impacted her life, it was like, I just got this really good, calm, peaceful feeling of like, I need to do a session with her. It wasn't even a question. And I will say I was a little nervous because I didn't know anything about that world. I was kind of tiptoeing into it. But in our first session, and then we had many more, it was just the most incredible, guiding and talking through what I was going through. But also you have these gifts of being able to help me uncover and see things that I can't see because of your intuition and your ability. And it was a very grounded, spiritual experience that was gentle and guiding and really impactful. And now we've become great friends, and I've learned so much from you. So anyway, that's how we met. But tell us, Jeanne, for the people that, don't know you the way that I do, a little bit about who you are, how you got to this place, and give us kind of an overview of what that looks like.
Well, my awareness, I'll call it my awareness and my abilities, started at around puberty. It might have started before that.
Okay. I like the word awareness, by the way. Like that feels really in line with how you are, how you operate.
So it started around puberty.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really around the time when I started having my first visions. And those visions really centered around questions that I had. When I was alone, I would sit and I would think of questions, really big questions for a kid of that age, like, what's going on in my life right now?
Wow.
What's going on? And at that time, I was going through some interesting health issues that no one could really find explanation for at that time.
Right.
And it was very stressful, and it created a lot of anxiety for me, and no one really knew, how to help me. So when I was alone by myself, I was in my bedroom, and I happened to ask the question, and I didn't know who I was asking to at that time. And now this is very important. I didn't know who. I just knew I was asking a higher power, like, what is going on in my life? I'm just a 13, 14-year-old kid.
A baby.
What is going on?
Yeah.
And so what happened was I proceeded to have this vision, this beautiful vision of being taken out of space and time.
Wow.
Away from my human self. And I got this incredible awareness that our true self is so vast and so large and so connected to the power of all that is, which is God, that we can only fit a small piece of it in the human body. And it was such an incredible experience to reunify or reconnect with my larger self, my higher self, the real self. And it gave me such peace. And that's when I started receiving the answers about what was going on with me. And they were not physical answers. They were very energy related answers as to what was going on with these health issues that I was having.
Wow. Yeah. And even just to have, like, when you said that, to have this sort of connection with the higher self and a knowing, I just got goosebumps, right? Like, just to have that at 13. I mean, that's incredible. I
knew I was raised Catholic. Okay. I had no background experience in energy or understanding energy, but what I was shown is something that I wouldn't understand fully in detail until I embarked on my own journey of learning healing modalities and understanding exactly what I was seeing. But at the time, I knew what was going on. I had the knowing. The knowing was given to me, I guess you could say. It was given to me to help me understand that there was a higher work at play through that. And it really was one of the biggest impactful moments that brought me to really walk on the journey, to take the journey that I'm on and be very passionate about the direction that I was meant to go into.
Right. And especially coming from, the religious background with very, I would say, very sort of set rules and rituals, right? I mean, to have that kind of experience where it's a knowing, like, in the physical body and spirit and soul, but it's not a head knowledge, right? I feel like that would have been probably so crazy for you, coming from that place to the knowing, which is like, you can't ignore that, right? I mean,
yeah, you can't really. And I will say that it was such a natural experience, though. It was so impactful that there was this afterglow. But at the same time, it felt so natural that there was no room in me consciously to question.
Wow.
That I didn't have to question anything. I was like, nope, I was given truth. Truth is, when you receive a message from the divine, there is this quality to it where there is no room for the limits of our conscious thinking and belief structures to interfere with it.
Right.
And that's I call them truth bombs, the divine truth bombs.
I like it.
They enter us, they impact us, they go and they move aside our limits of our belief structures and thinking, and they change us so that it's almost like a divine intervention.
Right. Right.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So I became very passionate about that. And I'm like, how can I help people experience that? How can I help them experience their own connection and their own truth? And that's a huge part of my work, is helping people circle back to their own truth and then show them that their truth is so much bigger than the limits of their current thinking.
Right.
That it compels them to take action on their own behalf.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like, when you're taking action from the place of a conscious mind space, it's not integrated. It doesn't have the weightiness of it, right? Like that truth piece maybe is missing. And so taking action on it is virtually impossible because there's such a disconnect, right? Whereas the knowing, it's an unwavering.
Yeah, it's an unwavering, you are compelled to act.
Right.
You know, you just act. That's literally what it is. You act. There's no anxiety around it. There's no forethought. It is like divine will, basically, if that's the best way I can put it. It's just acting.
Right.
And so the idea of us being afraid, hold on just a second. You're interrupted by a phone call.
How rude.
Somehow my phone is
in the middle
connected.
Of something very important here.
Exactly. We'll edit that. Now I have to circle back to where I was.
No,
actually.
So it was divine truth we were talking about, and finding that. And the whole, I think you were maybe going to go into like the fear or anxiety around sort of what you do is my thought.
Yes. Yeah. To take away the fear and anxiety of this is when you are going to someone who is a genuine psychic or a genuine, intuitive channeler, whatever it is, it's you are receiving insight from the divine, from your higher self. It's validating the messages a lot of the times that you're already getting, and then able to set you back on the path. It's all designed to set you back on the path.
Right. Kind of course correct. You're maybe going here.
Exactly. You're getting your course correct because you've been feeling off path or disconnected from where you're supposed to be or overly concerned about it. So usually people choose to get a reading when they are feeling off track, when they are feeling disconnected from purpose, in some way. And when for some reason they have stopped, not necessarily stopped, but somehow have stopped trusting their higher self. Their higher self. Now let's talk about that for a minute. Right. When I talk about the higher self, I'm talking about the soul, the true essence of yourself, as I described in my vision, the bigger part of you, that is so deeply connected to all that is and to the life force that is God. Right. And the vibration of that and the experience of that is so much greater and so much bigger than we've even been able to define with our structures and the limits of our own thinking. We try, we really, really try, but it's so much beyond
our comprehension, right?
Right. We each of us have a design for the life that we're in, and that is connected to us through our connection to our higher self. It's written into the very genetic structure of our human bodies. Right. We have this alignment and this goal in this life of growth and expansion and experience. And so if we, for some reason, get disconnected from the source of knowledge coming from a higher self, part of a session is to reconnect you back into that trusting, centered, aligned place. And at no point in time is it ever about giving your power away. Right. So that's a good thing. That's another topic about ethics.
I know. There's so many topics. We could talk for hours.
That's a good ethics topics, but it's supposed to make you feel like you're back in the driver's seat of your life.
Right. Not someone as a guru or a, holier than now, someone sort of coming down on you and telling you here's what you should do, versus someone, kind of coming alongside you and guiding you and showing you,
right,
putting you in the place,
right,
in your own life.
Most of the time when something like that happens, when you have a higher power directing you, it's because you're pretty off track anyway. So generally that doesn't happen though. It's not about being told what to do, right? Because the whole point of human life is to practice the power of choice and free will also. Right. We're supposed to have that ability and retain that. It's a very sacred gift to have free will and the power of our choice. So we have spirit guides, we have angels, we have our higher self. And we are not here to live by the dictates of another. We are here to live by the dictates of the soul and the higher power. And so that's not necessarily connected to an outside force. It's all inside,
right?
If that makes sense.
I love that. Yeah. And with that too, as just to go back, so how do you said we get disconnected from that, right? Our internal truth and hearing God. We get disconnected. We need to be reconnected. So how do we get disconnected and how do we reconnect? Because I'm thinking of, people will probably be thinking that, well, okay, that's great. We get disconnected. We need to reconnect. Like, I want to know how to do it. Like, I'm always very, I love the bigger picture and spiritual picture, but then I'm also very practical. Like, what are the steps? So
maybe the language of using the word disconnect is wrong. We oftentimes allow fear and anxiety and worry to take the place of the connection. Right. So we're putting something in the way of the flow of that. If you think of a connection as an ongoing power source, we oftentimes put something in the way or replace the connection with something else, like a worry,
because we're never
not
or fear. Connected, but there's a block in the way of it, right?
Sometimes it's just a block in the understanding of what's really going on.
Right.
And so that's when the higher perspective can come in, through someone who is connected. And that's not necessarily always a psychic. Sometimes it's a random message from a stranger. And however the message needs to get through, somehow the message will get through to you. You still have free will. You can still choose to ignore it. You can still choose to ignore yourself. But it's now we're in this place of making the conscious choice to be connected and stay connected. So when we're moving away, and even I would say addictions are a sign that we have replaced our natural connection with something else.
It's a numbing. How can we possibly get clear when we have this numbing going on, right?
Right. So one of the biggest and most simplest messages I've ever gotten from my higher self is we need to learn how to calm the mind. Calm.
So easy.
The mind. Yes. It's if we would just do it, right? Because I think that the way our societal structure is, it's like go, go, go. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Drink all that caffeinated beverages to keep you going.
Yes.
All that creates noise.
All the time, right? Everywhere.
So many distractions.
Yeah.
Those are all outside distractions where the power source is here. We're already connected to the power source. Right. We just need to learn how to calm the mind. So anything that calms your mind. Some people like the physical activity. Some people can sit and be still, is to practice stillness. Right. And some people don't like the word meditation. Right. I call it a practice in concentration. So if you struggle with concentration, you're not going to have an easy time with meditation. because it requires you to move out of a busy brainwave state and move into one that is more conducive to calm and focused, concentrated mind. So it's training your brain, not just your brain, but your nervous system. Do you ever notice how everybody is just high on nervous system?
Right. We're on overload, massive, that caffeine.
Trauma addiction, right? We're kind of high on that right now. A lot of people are kind of high on that right now, and they don't realize it, except that they will get the symptoms in their physical body.
Yeah.
Which the physical body is the last vanguard of psychic information from the higher self. From that connection. So if you're not getting the message, the body will take the message and convert it into a physical symptom for you to understand.
It's all connected. It's all connected.
So getting quiet in the mind, practicing quiet in the mind, turning off the distractions, allowing yourself to unwind and sort of, I don't know, maybe detox is the right word, unwind from the need for distractions. And pull your energy in and be within for a while. Calm the mind. It is so simple. The more practice you get in just calming the mind and focusing on a calm, concentrated focus that is not based on anxiety or fear. It's based on centeredness. Anything that gets you centered, any kind of meditation, physical exercise, anything that does that. And everybody is so unique in how they do that and how they clear their mind, that it's about finding the right way for you. Everybody has been receiving messages from their higher self since day one. So it's just a matter of quieting the mind and allowing those messages to come to a conscious level, from the subconscious to the conscious level. In order to do that, we need to be quiet upstairs.
Right. It's the fact of there's so many distractions, they're just endless. Social media, phone, people. I mean, it's just, how can we possibly hear, when all of that is going on? And I think everything going on in the world, there is so much uncertainty. We were talking about this yesterday. There's so many things, so many balls in the air, right? So many things that we don't know, that it's even more important to find that grounding internally, regardless of what the external looks like, and there's just no possible way in this moment being able to plan for 6 months ahead or a year ahead, right? It's really, I think, causing me, and I think so many people, to go really get present, like not even a week at a time or a day at a time, but like moment to moment, because things are changing, so quickly. And so with that, I think it's just so important I like what you said, the focus concentration versus meditation, because I think there's so many connotations around meditation, different religions or different practices or, ideas and experience that people have. But if you put it in that context of focus concentration, to me, I don't know, that's more digestible. Like it's more easily accessible. It doesn't feel like meditation. Like, do I have to go put a robe on and sit in a dark room in the corner? It's a little easier.
Yeah. Part of the purpose of what's going on now is to force us to confront our truth.
Right. That we can't escape it anymore, right?
Nope. We are being forced to confront our truth. And this is a healthy thing. We are beginning to understand where our power is placed. Where do we put our power?
Right.
Where are we giving away our power? We're being asked to look at and examine our belief system around where we put our power and our focus and our attention.
Right.
And that we are so powerful.
Right.
That when we focus our attention and power in a different way, in a new way, in a healthy way, in an empowering, centered way, we can be very impactful on the people around us, with our purpose.
Right.
We can live with greater intention. This is a level of I call it conscious responsibility.
Okay.
This is where we're learning more about where have we been consciously responsible and where do we need a little bit more growth.
Right.
And where do we need to expand in that area? So if you look at any place in your life where you're feeling the discomfort, that is where your soul is drawing you to go, and what could I be doing here, understanding here that I don't consciously know yet? And you will uncover answers, deeper answers to that. So a lot of times, again, that's why people come to people like me.
Right.
Is to go, what in the world is going on with this pattern in my life?
Right. To look at that and go, what is the bigger lesson in the bigger picture? And I like the way you asked that question too, of where in your life are you feeling the discomfort? And I find this when I'm working with clients, organizing them in their physical space too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what rooms or places in your life are chaos and why? And let's clear out the physical, but then what's actually like going on underneath? If you even look at it room by room, what's going on in that room? Like what emotionally is behind it? What's underneath it? And I think that's such a good just lesson in general to go, where are we uncomfortable, and look at it and like sit and look at it. And to your point on the focus concentration, even bringing it back to that, like taking that set aside sacred space to look at it and, work with you for guidance on it as well.
Right. And that brings me to, why I'm so passionate about working in the Akashic Records, and why I'm passionate about teaching people to connect to their higher self and connect to their Akashic Records and learn how to tap into that powerful resource through their own study and through their own transformative inner work. To basically what we do is we get rid of the dust, the psychic dust that clears or that obstructs the clarity of your own soul connection.
Yep. And
as deeper connected.
As we kind of wrap up, and we could talk again for hours about all of this, what are the Akashic Records? You said you're so passionate about that and teaching people. And I know you're passionate about, helping people connect to their internal knowing and connection with God, which is so important. But what are what is that? For people that don't know, very weird name. And what is that? How does that tie into your life?
Exactly. The word Akashic, or Akasha, it's a Sanskrit word.
Okay.
And it means storehouse. So if you think of the Akashic Records are a storehouse of information of everything that has ever happened, is happening, and will happen.
Wow.
So this is about memories of, other lifetimes, other experiences, and not just past lives, but a sort of a resource center of pooled strength, growth, triumphs, victories, understandings around problems, solution orientation. Oh, I love that word.
Right.
So, the Akashic Records, when you tap into it, you're opening your brain to thinking beyond sort of if I use some more physical terms, you're open to thinking beyond your certain structure of thinking. Right. You're open beyond your neural patterning that gets you stuck in a rut.
Right.
You're open beyond that, and you're able to have that perspective of what's given, of what's going on, what's really going on as it pertains to you in your life.
Wow.
And the profoundness of that truth can unstick you from a pattern or a structure. So that is why I teach people how to learn how to get into it. Wow. They're liberating themselves from being caught in a pattern or being glued psychically into a pattern or a certain type of relationship or a bad job or whatever it is. that's very practical stuff that's very challenging going on in their life, can help them understand, what is the purpose behind this, and then what is their role in it, and what can they do to move through that resistance of that experience and see it in a way that is actually very validating and empowering and connecting.
Wow. That's a lot. That sounds like a lot. I understand why someone would need to take a course with you to understand.
And it's actually very simple. I like to keep it simple and keep it sacred. There's a lot of esoteric terminology around the Akashic Records, a lot of that. But it's actually can be used very, very practically. Wow. And in the past, it was used by secret societies and brotherhoods and sisterhoods, and it wasn't a well-known thing. Right. But now, as human beings are consciously opening, more and more people are ready. Yeah. For it to be offered on a higher, more open scale. So that's why now you're seeing it more abundantly than ever before. Right. Because people are ready to have that conscious relationship for themselves. Right. Not to be handed that, but to have it for themselves, which is power by itself, is to be able to have that. Right. And I do love that. And you've we talked so much about that as well, around like not looking to someone else as your guru. Like it's your relationship with God and your internal knowing, like that's the most important, and learning from other people on how to cultivate that. But I think as a society, it's so easy to go out and just say, can you tell me, can you give me the answer? Can you give me the answer? And it's like, no, like taking that space to learn it on your own. And you do that so beautifully. So where can people find you if they want to work with you? As we close, and where can people find you? Absolutely. I have a website that you can go to. Perfect. lightofthesoul.ascension.com. It's kind of a long one. Wonderful. And I'll put it in the show notes too, but great. I offer a lot of online services. So Zoom consultations, phone consultations. Awesome. And I also have a location, which you can come to in Minnesota, in Little Canada. Wonderful. And you can make an appointment there. I also sell a variety of crystal and products at that space as well. And a lot of her beautiful art too. She's very talented. Very got some artwork there too. Another conversation. Thank you so much. There's so much more that we could dig into, and we will absolutely get into more of that later. But absolutely. Thank you for having me so much. So much. Thank you. Thank you for spending so much time with me on Always Ask. If this was impactful for you, please leave a comment or a review. And if you have any questions, visit amandabusbyinc.com. And until next time, don't forget to always ask.